Yidras Hashem besimcha, Yidras Hashem besimcha, Yidras Hashem besimcha, Yidras Hashem besimcha, Vayelefanav, Vayelanav, Vayelefanav, V'yilana, v'yilefana, v'yilana, v'yilefana, v'yilana, Yidras Hashem besimcha, Yidras Hashem besimcha, Yidras Hashem besimcha, Yidras Hashem besimcha, v'yilefana, v'yilana, v'yilefana, v'yilana, v'yilefana, v'yilana. Okay, can you follow the Hebrew? We're on page 18. Great. Yeah. So it's Erev Rosh Chodesh. Tonight is Rosh Chodesh Tammuz, right? And the Shabbos is going to be the Lubavitcher Rebbe's Yortzeit, 22 years.
2 years already, wow.
Which part of Brooklyn are you from?
Wabash, Midwest.
Okay, so
For those who don't believe the Rebbe died, they keep the Yortzeit.
ask them. Don't ask me. I have to know what everybody does. Okay. You know, there was a Rebbe that not Breslovers, but I heard the story that they were known as Hasidim were known as the Toitze Hasidim because the Rebbe died and they kept on being his Chassid. They never appointed another Rebbe. And every Shabbos they would call him up to the Torah at Shishi, at the 6th Aliyah. So the Chassid of the Rebbe heard about it. He said, "Why don't they give him Hagbeh?" You know, picking up the No, Hagbeh is the most coveted thing. It's more coveted than Shishi.
I mean, being
serious, yeah. No. Okay, we're on page 18. We're in the second paragraph. It begins with B'Rosh Hashanah Yesh et Ha'emet. So what we're talking about is this lesson that we've been learning. This is already the 6th shir we're having in it. Reb Shlomo is talking about Einei Moshiach, Moshiach eyes, as compared to Einei Nevuah, prophetic eyes. And the way he's using the terminology is that prophetic eyes are sort of like looking at factual information, like, you know, what is the truth? What is the truth of the truth? But Moshiach eyes are looking much deeper. Okay. And the last thing that we learned is he was quoting a teaching from Rav Nachman that there's emet, truth, which might be, your truth might be different from my truth. Your truth might be different from my truth. And there's emet la'amito, which is the truth of truth, which means if it's true for you, it has to be true for me. If it's true for you, it has to be true for me, and vice versa. And then there's shalom. So, and Reb Shlomo gave the example and he explained, somebody's here, yeah? Reb Shlomo explained that, for example, you see someone stealing, so that's the truth. Emet la'amito is the truth of the truth is that you also see that this person was starving. Okay? And then there's shalom, which is the level of you're not even really looking at the you don't even see that he stole. And what we explained yesterday was that the same way you're not always looking at your own faults, right? You accept that you've got faults and you've got things to fix and to repair, but that's not your focus. Your focus is on your whole being, right? And likewise, we have to be on the level. We're trying to be on the level where we realize that every person that we're involved with, every one of our brothers and sisters, they might not be as observant as you. They might not be as nice people as you are. But these are your brothers and these are your sisters. And the same way you see yourself and you accept yourself and you know that you have things to fix, we have to accept every one of our brothers and sisters and be whole with them, because without them we're not whole ourselves. Okay? So page 18, Rosh Hashanah, so he's elaborating on this. Yeah.
I can't find the
page 18.
Yes.
And go up to the second paragraph. It's about 10 lines down from the top. The line begins with Rosh Hashanah.
It's the first paragraph.
The first paragraph ended the line before that.
Okay.
Oh, really?
It's just not indented.
Okay.
You see where we have it? Rosh Hashanah yesh et ha'emet. Rosh Hashanah is about what's the truth. Udvacha malkenu emet v'kayam la'ad. Your words, our King, are truth and ever and eternal. Nachnu omrim et ha'emet lakadosh baruch hu. We're telling God the truth. Yom Kippurim ze emet la'amito. Yom Kippur is the truth of the truth. As we say in the prayers, v'salachta la'avonenu, forgive our transgressions, ki l'chol ha'am bishgaga, because everybody, whatever they did wrong, it was really unintentional. In other words, the truth of the truth is, even when a Jew knows that he's not supposed to be doing something and he does it, deep down, he doesn't really want to do it. It's a pretty amazing thing to say, you know. Like, I mean, but this is a line. This is a quote from the davening. Ki l'chol ha'am bishgaga, right? It's all b'shoigig. It's all unintentional. The Jew's real intention is to serve Hashem. Now, on a certain level of reality and consciousness, a person is, when they do something wrong, let's say if they're taking something that doesn't belong to them or doing something on Shabbos and so on, and they're conscious of it and so on. So you can't say that they're acting innocently, that they're acting as if they didn't know, right? But it's like, what they're doing is because they're not really in touch with themselves, with their inner essence. So just today, this a bit. The concept of shoigig is the halachic concept. There's mezid, an intentional act, an intentional transgression, and there's b'shoigig, and there's an unintentional. So, for example, let's say somebody doesn't know that on Shabbos you're not allowed to work, and he does work. So what he does, he did work, that is the emet, but it was b'shoigig, it was unintentional. He just didn't know that you're not allowed to. Nobody ever told him, you know? Then there's mezid, a yid who knows it is Shabbos, he knows that you're not supposed to work. And he's working anyway, he's doing it intentionally. So what Rav Shlomo is saying is that Rosh Hashanah is the level of Emet. He works on Shabbos. It's a fact. Yom Kippur was saying, forgive all your people, because even when we're doing something that we shouldn't be doing, and even when we're aware of it, it's still in a certain way unintentional. But how is it unintentional? You know, barely. You didn't know that it's Shabbos? Yeah, I knew that it's Shabbos. You didn't know that you're not supposed to do this on Shabbos? Yes, I know that I'm not supposed to do it. So why do we say in the prayer, that it's all unintentional? Because if I would really be in touch with myself, with my real inner reality, that I'm a neshama, that I'm a part of Hashem, I wouldn't have done it. So it's in a certain sense b'shoigig, because I wasn't in touch with myself.
Isn't that a bit of a stretch?
It's yeah. Listen, we stretch, we paradox, we do all those things, you know.
We do it because we don't believe in it, maybe.
No. It's when you say it's a stretch, it's stretching our awareness that had I known, yeah, I knew that it's Shabbos, I knew this, I knew that, okay? Had I known that in reality, my real essence is my soul, had I really experienced and recognized that I'm in the presence of Hashem, I would never have done it. So that's the shoygig. You understand? It's go ahead with your question.
Where does responsibility for one's own actions
we are responsible. That's why we have Rosh Hashanah. I'm taking responsibility. I'm taking responsibility to be more conscious. But how could I say to God, everything that we did was unintentional on Yom Kippur, right? How could I say that? So I knew what I was doing, right? But I wasn't aware that of my real essence. At that time, right? I wasn't aware of my real essence. It's like this guy goes into the bank to rob the bank, and all of a sudden, his grandmother is there, and she says, "What are you doing?" I said, "Oh, I'm not doing it." Right? In other words, all of a sudden, your awareness of who you really are, right, comes back to you. Okay, so it doesn't mean that you're not responsible. Of course, I'm responsible. Responsibility is a blessing. Okay, it's a big blessing to know that we are responsible. Okay, but at the same time, the question is: so how can I be forgiven for something that I did? Why is Yom Kippur the Day of Atonement? Why is Hashem forgiving us? Right? Forgiving us because deep down we were acting unintentionally.
As being very gracious, like that's not.
Well, Yom Kippur is a very Yom Kippur is one second. Please, 1 second. Yom Kippur is a great divine grace. Yom Kippur is absolute grace. You know. What do you want to say?
More on the lines. It seems to me there could be more than one approach here. There could be a retributive approach of trying to seek justice and seek absolute justice, and by right, you go on that level, then the person is condemned and should die. We should all die by the end of the year, because we all did so many terrible things.
Yeah.
According to that approach, it seems to me that the approach here is a different approach for me as an individual. Each of us as an individual approach of what Hashem is doing. And from my point of view, I have to take responsibility for what I did. It seems to me what's happening here is Hashem is a system and an approach that's looking for forgiveness and it's striving for forgiveness against human logic. It's the
And-
logic.
but-
There's no reason for
at,
to forgive and forgive.
at the same time. You understand? You understand? It's both. Hashem holds us responsible for what we do. There's no question about it. Read the Chumash. Hashem holds us responsible for what we do. And Hashem also created tshuva so that we could do tshuva, and like the reset button type of thing. Like you can go back to starting again, but not only to starting again, you can go so far that your willful transgressions are considered as unintentional, and you can even go so far if you're doing tshuva out of love that the very transgressions that we did are now transformed and are considered as mitzvahs.
Unconditional.
That's tshuva me'ahava.
That's
Yeah, of course.
We have to do our part.
Of course, we have to do our part. No tshuva, no tshuva. I mean, Yom Kippur is so powerful that it forgives even then. But there's one thing. But in terms of getting back into the relationship with Hashem, so tshuva me'ira, tshuva out of fear. Because I don't want to end up being shish kebab in heaven. You're vegetarian.
I'm the only one here.
So that's like, so saying, okay, so like Hashem says, okay, you don't want to, so I'll downgrade your transgressions from intentional to unintentional, right? But if it's tshuva me'ahava, if it's tshuva out of love, and what really bothers me is not about whether I'm going to be getting my retribution, but what really bothers me, what really concerns me is that I love God and I want to be back in a relationship with Him.
Mm-hmm.
So the example that I once heard was like, when a string tears and you tie it back together, the knot is the strongest part of the string, right? So when the person does tshuva for his transgression, and what really bothers him about it is not what's going to happen to me as a result of my transgression, but rather, how could I have severed my relationship or damaged my relationship by doing this? That's what bothers me. And I love Hashem, and I want to be back in relationship with Him, so then that tear gets knotted back together, so to speak, and that becomes a really strong point of connection. Now that's Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur. So Shlomo goes down. So he says, I didn't really have intention to do something bad. I was hungry. So I took the bread. But Simchat Torah is on the level of Sukkot Shalom. Sukkot Shalom, the tent of peace. And I feel Torah. Simchat Torah, we don't even open up the Sefer Torah to read in it. And I feel excuse me, I skipped some words. I'm not interested at that point in the prophecy, in the factual information. I just dance with the Torah. I'm not even looking to see the words right now. Right now it's time to dance with the Torah, in Simchas Torah, right? Meaning to say that even the simplest Yid, even the one who was the furthest away, he realizes, wow, the Torah really is my life. I just want to dance with it. Okay? So that's the level of Shalom, being whole with the Torah. And of course, the next day, or right the night after, we got to go back and make sure that the tshuva that we did is real tshuva, that what we experience on Simchas Torah is going to be lasting, etc. B'Simchat Torah אנחנו קוראים את הפרשה האחרונה. On Simchas Torah we read the last parsha of the Torah, וזאת הברכה. This is the blessing. שבה משה רבנו מברך את עם ישראל. That Moshe Rabbeinu is giving a blessing to the people of Israel. And ממש באותו רגע שהוא מקבל עיני משיח מהקדוש ברוך הוא. And that's when he's getting the Mashiach eyes from God. Now, what exactly he means over there, I'm not exactly sure, but you know that Moshe Rabbeinu at the end of his life, it's actually in this week's parsha that the whole story with the rock and hitting the rock and so on. And so Moshe Rabbeinu is not getting into Eretz Yisrael, but what Hashem does do for him is Hashem gives him the opportunity to see Eretz Yisrael. Right? He says, ascend the mountain, and from the mountain you'll see the land. So, let me think for a minute. So the what Shlomo seems to be saying over here is that Einei Mashiach, as compared to Einei Nevuah, which if you have Einei Mashiach, you're giving people blessings, right? In other words, you saw somebody doing something wrong, right? Einei Nevuah, factual eyes. Einei Mashiach is like you remember.
Did you say factual eyes or factual eyes?
Factual eyes. Factual eyes. Einei Mashiach is you're giving the person blessings. Okay, you're giving the person blessings, and meaning to say that you. What does it mean to give somebody a blessing? It's not just words. It's basically a real contribution of yourself to the well-being of that person, right? In other words, what makes a bracha powerful is not the words. The words are important, obviously. And by the way, we're dedicating all our learning for the refuah shalem of Brucha At Bezlata. So the idea is that with Mashiach eyes, you see what usually happens is that you see somebody's weakness. They do something that's not right. You see their weakness, and what do? You sort of take note of it, right? I'll remember this about you, type of thing, chas v'shalom, right? Mashiach eyes is you see somebody's weakness and you realize, I have to help this person. I have to contribute to this person's improvement. And you're giving them blessings. Now, obviously, it's one thing to give a blessing, but obviously if there's something more that you could do besides giving the blessing, then you should do more. Okay? I meant to say Mashiach eyes. You didn't. I mean, what did I say?
Rational eyes.
Huh?
Rational eyes.
Rational eyes.
Could be rationalized.
Yeah. No, yeah, I know.
Is that the rationale? Is that the rationale because a person should do? I forget the wording. That a person should do tshuva up to the day. I'm not sure the word. Up to the day he died.
Even on that day, yeah.
Because I can't formulate it. Because what a person thinks he did not do, he actually did. There are so many things in life which we do by habit.
Mm-hmm.
I come from a Western society, so if a voluptuous woman comes on the bus, I have to force myself not to look, but many times I do look.
Right. So it's almost b'sheigik, because we've been so brainwashed by the culture that we grew up in, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's a very, very hard avoid. It's very hard, very hard.
For men, especially.
Hmm?
For men, in particular.
Well, I don't know what it's like for women, but yeah. Okay. So let's go on.
That's why men have a tzitzit, not the women.
כשאני מתפלל תפילת 18,
Men have to have a tzitzit.
we have to have the mitzvah. We have to have the mitzvah of a talis with tzitzis to remind us to be careful with how we look.
Right.
כשאני מתפלל תפילת 18, I was going to tell you, there's an anecdote about the Rebbe Levi Yitzchak of Berdichev, that he sees somebody smoking on Shabbos. And he goes up to this man and he says, did you know that it's Shabbos? He says, of course, I know that it's Shabbos. He says, you know that you're not supposed to smoke on Shabbos? He says, yes, I know. So Rebbe Levi Yitzchak turns his eyes to heaven and he says, Rebbeinu Shalom, look at how honest this person is. Right? In other words, what are you looking at? What are you looking at? You could look at, right? So he's saying, look, he's an honest man.
That's
Okay?
the name of Moshiach.
That's the name of Moshiach. Okay. So he saw that he's smoking, but he's focusing on what's really good about him, you know. So כשאני מתפלל תפילת 18, אני עומד לכיוון ירושלים. When we're davening the Amidah, we face Yerushalayim. גם אם אני מתפלל בקצה העולם, even if I'm at the farthest other edge of the world, אני עומד לכיוון ירושלים. I still have to stand and face ירושלים. האם אני באמת רואה את ירושלים? Do I actually see Yerushalayim? ברמת הנבואה, on the level of nevuah eyes, factual eyes, אני באמת לא רואה אותה. I don't see it. I don't see her. אבל בעיני משיח, but with Mashiach eyes, כל יהודי שמתפלל ממש רואה את ירושלים. Every Jew who's davening, ממש really sees ירושלים. ממש ותחזינה עינינו בשובך לציון ברחמים. It's ממש on the level of let our eyes see your return, when you return to Zion with compassion. היהודי הכי גרוע שמתפלל 18, even the worst Jew, when he's davening 18, רואה אותה, he sees Yerushalayim. Maybe he's not looking, but you know, but it's a reality. You know, I once heard a cute story that when Yitzchak Rabin was ambassador to Washington, on some occasion, maybe a Masmaut or whatever it was, he was invited to give a talk in some big church. And he was talking about Yerushalayim. And afterwards, this 11-year-old black girl comes up to him and she says, Jerusalem is an actual place in this world? He says, yes. She says, well, I always thought it was a place in heaven.
Right.
You've heard that story?
No, it's true.
Okay. In other words, even the worst Jew, like, you know, can shut his eyes and he can visualize the Yerushalayim in its glory. So, כשיצחק אבינו בירך את Yaakov, when Yitzchak, we're on page 19. When Yitzchak Avinu blessed Yaakov, Katuv, it says, Vayarach et reach begadav. He smelled the fragrance of his garments. And then he said, Ve'ei ruach beni kireach sadeh asher be'eracho Hashem. Behold, see that the fragrance of my son is like the fragrance of the field with which Hashem blessed him. Zohar HaKadosh Mefarish, and the Holy Zohar explains, Re'ei reach beni, see the fragrance of my son. Beni is Melshon Banui. The word Beni is related to the word Banui, which means built. Hu ra'a et Beit HaMikdash Banui. Yitzchak saw the built Beit HaMikdash. Kireach hasadeh. The verse continues and he says, like the fragrance of the field. Hu ra'a et Beit HaMikdash charev. He also saw that the Beit HaMikdash was destroyed. And then Asher Birech Hashem, that God had blessed, Hura'ah Shemashiach Ba. He also saw the arrival of that Mashiach is coming. Gewalt. Mashi Yitzchak Ra'ah. What Yitzchak saw, Hu lo Ra'ah B'ramat Nevuah. It was not on the level of prophetic information. It was Hu Ra'ah Imeinei Mashiach. He was seeing with the eyes of Mashiach, right? Again, what is seeing with the eyes of Mashiach? Do you see the world in its terrible state that it's in, or do you see that we're getting closer to Mashiach? Right? In other words, this, let's say you come in somewhere and you see something that's broken, and you say to the master of the house, "Hey, that's broken, right? Well, thank you very much. We know that it's broken. The only way that you're going to help me is if you also see how it could be restored, that it's going to be restored, right? Otherwise, if all you see that is broken, okay, so then we fall into despair, chas v'sholem, and that's that. And, it's despair, and we just look for ways to amuse ourselves so that we don't have to live with the pain of it all the time, right? But with the name Mashiach, you see, this is going to be. We're going to fix this. This is going to be beautiful. We're going to fix that. It's going to be beautiful. That's Moshiach.
I would imagine that to develop a Moshiach, one would have to work on it. Because myself, on that level, I see things in a...
Don't talk negatively, but we're all having to work. All of us have to work.
But one has to be conscious of that 24/7.
Now you're talking about conscious. That's already a different story. You know the story in Chelm. You've heard of Chelm? Chelm was this town in Poland. The people from Chelm were actually very smart, but they became like all these silly jokes are attributed to the people of Chelm. So the story is that the rabbi in the town got run over by a wagon, and his Nebuch Leilenu, his head was severed, and they had to send somebody to inform his wife that the rabbi is not alive. And the man that goes to inform her, he's like very unsure about how he should break the news. So finally he says to her, the rabbi has no head. So she says, what else are you going to tell me? I know that.
That's called a Moshiach.
And why did I tell you that joke now? Because we're all sort of walking around, not all the time with a head, Okay, what did the Baal Shem Tov want to add with his bringing out all the teachings of Chassidut, etc.? Until his time, all the tzaddikim were people with vision of nevuah, ruach hakodesh. They had the Holy Spirit. ומה בעל שם טוב הקדוש עשה לעולם? What did the Baal Shem Tov do? הוא רצה שיהיו ליהודים עיני משיח. He wanted Yidden to have the eyes of Mashiach. So, if you know the history a little bit, the gap between the learned Jews and the ordinary Jews before the Baal Shem Tov was huge. It was huge. The ordinary Yidden were looked down upon. They were looked down as being very distant from Yiddishkeit. And those who were sitting and studying, they were the holy people, and it was a huge gap. Okay. like so much so that the Misnagdim, the opponents of the rise of the Hasidic movement, they were very, very against the idea of taking holy teachings and bringing them out to the public, right? And that's for the Baal Shem Tov, that's exactly what he was doing, right? On the second day of Rosh Hashanah, he reported, he wrote in a letter to his brother-in-law, Reb Gershon Kitiver, describing that on the second day of Rosh Hashanah, he had an aliyat neshama, he had an ascension of the soul, and he went up to the Heichal Moshiach, to Moshiach's chamber, and he asked him, Mosai Kosi Mar, when is the master finally going to come? When are you coming to the world? And that the Mashiach answered him, when your fountainheads, when your well springs will be bursting outwards, which that has become like the motto, particularly of the Hasidic movement and particularly of Chabad. You probably remember the song, Mosai, 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 Kosimar. Do you remember?
Kosimar?
Ka'ati. Kuf Aleph Taf Yud. It's Aramaic. Mosai, 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 Kosimar. Lichshei Yefutzu. Ay, ay, lidalai. Ay, lidalai, lidalai. Didididai, lidalai. Dididai, lidalai. Ay, lidalai. You don't remember it, Bechol? Ay, 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 my Mosai Kosima. Yishay Yafutsu, my Nesecho Chutza. Ay, 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 ay. Right? So the Baal Shem Tov understood from that encounter that we have to go out and reach out to every Yid at whatever level they're at and help them feel connected again, right? That's what the whole Chassidus is all about.
Can I turn on the light a little bit?
Speak to the clouds to move away. Yes, you can turn on the lights. Right behind you. The other one, that's right. Turn all the way, turn all the way. So, better? Okay, so what Reb Shlomo was saying is, this is Mashiach eyes. Understand? You go out, I was talking about this yesterday, right, Shaya? About the kids going and putting on film with people and so on. But you go out and you tell, or you go out and you encounter a woman, you say, here, can I give you some Shabbos candles, right? Well, if that woman is going to listen to you, you know why she's going to listen to you? Because you are recognizing that she has a role in bringing Mashiach. You're not just trying to manipulate her, but she might have been the most anti-religious person all her life. But as soon as you see, you are precious, you have an important role, right? And that's Mashiach eyes. That's like saying, oh, I thought I no longer had any connection. And you're telling me that I'm connected again, or that I still am, and that I never was really severed. Okay? And what session they do, I want you to know. Chodesh Av, excuse me, I skipped the paragraph. Lama hu kol kach hitlahev mimoshe l'shoiv mayim. Why was the Baal Shem Tov so excited when he saw a simple Yid, a water carrier? Why was he so excited? Now, when Reb Shlomo says, Moshe l'shoiv mayim, right? He's likely referring to one of the stories that he used to tell about Moshe the water carrier. Do you remember the story? By the way, you can go on YouTube, punch in Reb Shlomo Carlebach, stories. You can hear all the recordings of him telling stories, right? And Moshe was a water carrier, right? So I'll tell you the story in a minute. She says, "Ki al pi einei nevuah," because with prophetic eyes, factual eyes, Moshe l'shoiv mayim bemet lo yodei klum. Moshe the water carrier is like mamish, an ignoramus. He doesn't know anything. He knows he's a Jew, right? Hu lo yodei eifel aniach tefillin. He doesn't know how to put on tefillin. Ech litpalel, how to daven, or ma la'asot b'Shabbat, or what to do on Shabbos. אבל אם עיני Moshiach, but with Moshiach eyes, אתה מסתכל עליו בדרך אחרת, you're looking at Moshe in a different way. The story is that, what was his name? The son-in-law of the Kotzker Rebbe, his name will come back to me soon. He used to celebrate the yahrzeit of Moshe the water carrier. You know the story, Shai?
No.
You never heard the story? And what was his name? Which Rebbe was he? It will come back to me, okay. In any case, he had gotten married and he'd come to live in this town. It wasn't the church kibbutz. I'll get it soon. And he had come back. He had come to live in this town and was davening in the shul. And he, being that he was like a student of the Kotzker Rebbe. Let me see if they have it over here.
Who is this person?
Who's the Rebbe?
Yeah,
I'm trying to remember the name.
okay.
Anyway, I'll tell you the story anyway, but I'll find the name afterwards. And every year on the yahrzeit of Moshe, the water carrier, he would tell the story. So he says when he came to live there, in this town, so Kosk was all about truth. Kosk was a warrior for truth. There was no room for anything that was not true. So he says, I come to live in this town and I'm looking to see who over here is a real, true, sincere Yid. And I'm looking among the rabbis. I didn't really find exactly what I'm looking for. Among the people I didn't find, but one day I come into shul and I see this Yid, Moshe the water carrier, standing near the oven and saying some tehillim, and I say, wow, this man is for real. So I tried to become his friend, but he always shied away from me because he just had a hard time understanding why I, like, the son-in-law of the Kotzker Rebbe, why, from such an important lineage, would want to be friends with a water carrier. Anyway, I was very sad about that. That I was living in this town and I didn't have anybody that I could really, really speak with my whole heart and so on. So one night I'm taking a little stroll And I walk into this poor neighborhood, and I see this house, like, half standing, half dilapidated. And I see it's Moshe, the water carrier, standing on his front balcony with a bunch of other water carriers around. And they're having a party. So I go over, I say, Moshe, I see you're celebrating. Can I come and join? And he says, Rebbe, absolutely. So finally I said to him, so, okay, what are you celebrating? So, and his friends, he was celebrating together with the other water carriers. They said, yeah, why did you invite us? What's this party all about? So he says, here's the story. He says, for years and years and years, I get up every morning at 3:30 in the morning. And the first thing I do is I go and I fetch 2 big pails of water and I bring it to the shul. And no charge, I bring it there for the people who are sleeping in the shul, for the scholars who are sitting and learning the whole time. And every night I bring the water and I go over to the Arona Kodesh and I open it up and I say a few words of prayer. And I say, Hashem, it's me, Moshe, the water carrier. Hashem, we're so poor. My kids are starving most of the time. Please, God, if you could only give me 1,000 rubles so that I can get started with a little shop or something like that and get me back on my feet, I would be the happiest man in the world. And he says, just a few days ago, I did the same thing. And as I'm leaving the shul and I'm walking down the street, it's still dark, and my foot hits something, and I take a look, and I see that it's a and I take a look. It's a pouch. I pick it up, and lo and behold, there's 1,000 rubles in there. And I say, "Wow, God, you really do listen to prayers. You really listen to my prayers." Mm-hmm. And he says, Rebbe, you know how heavy those pails of water are? They're very heavy. And I was dancing with them all day long. So later in the day at Mincha Maariv, I go to shul to have a Mincha Maariv, and I see there's a whole commotion outside the shul. What's going on? Chanale, who was recently widowed, her husband was also a water carrier of Remele, and she's standing there crying bitterly, and she says, you know, that money that you guys put together for my family, the 1,000 rubles, I lost it. And as soon as she said that, I hadn't even approached the group yet. As soon as I heard that, I knew the money that I found, that must be her money. I got so upset with God, I didn't go into shul. I went home. I threw myself in my bed, covered my face with pillows, crying, and I said, God, I'm really upset with you. If you wanted to give me 1,000 rubles, you had to take it away from Hanale, the widow. You know what, God? I'm not going to return it. I'm going to keep it. And I finally cried myself to sleep. And in my sleep, all of a sudden I hear crying. I hear crying. Where's this crying coming from? Looking, finally I find it. It was my soul that was crying. And my soul says to me, Moshe, all your life you trusted God. Now is the time that you need him most. And now you don't trust him? And my soul is crying. So I say, what am I supposed to do? Moshe, get up right now and go and return the money. And he says, you know, when you hear your soul crying, there's nothing else to do but what your soul, what your neshama wants. So I got up I ran over to Chanale's house, knocked on her door, and I say, Chanale, I found your money. And the gratitude in her eyes was so awesome. Nothing can replace that. So what I'm celebrating tonight is that I heard my soul crying and that I listened to it. So I think it was the church group, but I'll check. Remind me tomorrow or whatever that to make sure that I check, okay? You're good at that.
Tomorrow, next day,
Whatever,
tomorrow
yeah.
is offshore. Yeah.
So the Rebbe who was celebrating Moshe the wire carries yahrzeit, he says, how many of you have heard your soul crying? I at least could say that I was friends. I had the merit to be friends with a Yid who heard his soul crying. So Rav Shlomo was saying, why was the Baal Shem Tov so excited about Moshe the wire carrier, a man who could barely read, right? Because the Baal Shem Tov was saying, you know, Moshe the wire carrier could be 1,000 miles closer to Hashem than the biggest scholar. Understand? If you see that in the person, if you see that this is a true reality, understand? It could be. It's the Baal Shem Tov was like, to him, every Yid was like, wow, you're amazing. And maybe at this moment he wasn't so amazing, but he had it in him to be amazing. And the thing about Sholem is that we need to help each other see that in one another and see that in ourselves and help each other actually bring that out into reality. Okay? And that's what the Baal Shem Tov did. That's what the Hasidic movement is meant to be doing. It's not necessarily being done in every group, understand? But that's basically what it's all about. You're a Yid, you have a neshama, you're a part of. I'll be back with you in a couple of minutes, okay? Give me 2 minutes, okay, bye. You're a Yid, that's awesome. And another teacher of Shlomo said, Shaya, in whose image were you created?
Shem's.
In Shem's image. In whose image was I created in?
Shem's image.
No. Are those just words or do you see that? You understand? When we have to see that. You understand? Even you can see the biggest bore in the shuk, it doesn't matter. You have to learn to see this person is also in the image of God. And maybe that image of God is clouded over and covered over with clippers and shells and things like that, but the image of God is there. And we need to learn how to see it.
I think crying helps.
Crying, what Shlomo once said, I don't remember in whose name he said it, he said